Good morning and welcome to Daily Focus. I trust that your evening was great and your night's rest was beautiful and that your morning is off to a great start. I'm looking forward to the weekend. I hope that you are as well. For those of you from Faith Baptist Church, do remember that we have a work day tomorrow at the school to get some things ready for the new school year and to spruce the place up a little bit. And I know that'll be a blessing to Mr. Hawkins for those that can come. Let me just say that Proverbs chapter 18 is wrought with wonderful nuggets that will help us to navigate through life and to do it in a way that honors and glorifies the Lord. Verse 13 has become a real help to me in ministry and in my life. Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 13 says, "He that answereth a matter before he heareth it, it is folly and shame unto him. The spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity, but a wounded spirit who can bear? The heart of the prudent getteth knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeketh knowledge. A man's gift maketh room for him, and bringeth him before great men. He that is first in his own cause seemeth just, but his neighbor cometh and searcheth him. The lot causeth contentions to cease, and parteth between the mighty. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle." Verse number 13 is a tremendous help. It just reminds us that, somebody can come to us with their side of the story. Somebody can come to us with their agenda. They can be so convincing. And verse number 13 just reminds us, if we believe something when we've simply heard one side, it's going to come back and be counted as folly. It's going to make a fool out of us. And so Proverbs 18:13 is really a verse that ought to be memorized by everyone. It certainly should be applied in every situation, because I have found in counseling that some people that would come and give me their side of a story can be incredibly convincing. And then all of a sudden you hear the other side, and all of a sudden you're wondering who's telling the truth, what is the truth, what is really going on. And it becomes very confusing. And so it's not about who can convince who the most. It really is about the truth. And so as you look through Proverbs chapter 18, the Bible says that the heart of the prudent getteth knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeketh knowledge. In other words, this idea of wanting to understand truth, wanting to get the truth before you come to a conclusion. And God reminds us that, to come to a conclusion or to jump to a conclusion before you've heard the whole matter is going to make a fool out of you. And so the real nugget of truth here is that we have a responsibility to make sure that, because somebody comes to us and it might break our heart what they're going through, and we might sympathize or we might empathize with a tough situation, but to jump on board with how they're feeling, or to jump on board with an opinion about somebody else or a situation when you haven't heard the whole story, that's going to come back and be counted as folly. It's going to make a fool out of you. So you have to make sure that you're in the pursuit if you're going to come to a conclusion. Sometimes it's better to just not even come to a conclusion. It sometimes isn't even our place to have an opinion. And sometimes people come to us and they put us in the middle of something, or they want us to simply side with them to increase their numbers and create pressure on somebody else. And that takes an element of wisdom to navigate through. But sometimes just being a listening ear and giving feedback to that individual who's going through, but guarding your heart and guarding your mind to even coming to an opinion about the person that they're struggling with or the situation that they find themselves. And we might empathize or sympathize with the fact that they're going through a tough time. But sometimes wisdom tells us it's better to just not even have an opinion, to just allow it to be what it is, and to guard your heart and your mind about allowing an opinion to be formed. And sometimes it's not even your place to have one. It's certainly a lot of times not our place to communicate one or to say one. Sometimes it's best to just help the individual the best we can and leave the situation and the drama to help that individual rather than jumping in or being drug into it for an agenda purpose. And then as you continue, verse number 19 warns us. It says, a brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city. Sometimes we unintentionally offend people. Sometimes we because of miscommunication, because of misinformation, we offend people. We sometimes come to a conclusion or communicate a conclusion with somebody and it's offensive. Sometimes it's in the way we treat them. Sometimes it's that we should do something. We should have been sensitive about something. We should have been ready to serve and help in a situation, and we were just oblivious to it. We had a selfish moment, or we were distracted, or we just weren't paying attention, and we hurt somebody or offend them because we really should have been engaged. We should have been more sensitive. We should have been more willing to help. Sometimes that's how we offend. And then sometimes it's in what we say. We're just careless with our words, or we're insensitive with our words, and we offend people with our words. And God is just warning us that even in this idea of not being drug into somebody else's drama, sometimes you can be offensive that way. Sometimes it's in the fact that you've done something, you've said something, or you didn't do something, or you were unwilling to say something that needed to be said, that offends. And those people, if you don't make it right, time is not on your side. Sometimes people say time heals. Well, time sometimes gives you the grace to respond properly, but time doesn't heal. Sometimes time does just the opposite, and it makes the heart grow bitter. And so when you've offended somebody, saying, well, they'll get over it in time is not the right approach. Time sometimes makes the heart grow bitter, and it can be very difficult to restore that relationship. And the one thing that you'll find about the path of wisdom and what Proverbs says is it reminds us how important relationships are, and that we ought to nurture them. We ought to be careful with them, and we certainly ought to do what we can to restore relationships that are strained or broken. And life is too short to stay angry. Life is too short to allow your heart to be bitter, and that bitterness will just hurt you anyway. And so God reminds us that, keep short sin accounts. Make sure you strive to restore relationships that are strained or broken, because time makes it very difficult to do that. And so, verse number 19, a brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle. And so let's keep those relationships sharp and well communicated and well meaning and well communicated back to how we love one another and care for one another. I hope you have a great day and a great weekend. We'll look forward to seeing you on Monday. God bless.